form, I gave the story of Bilal radiyallahu anhu warda. When a cheeky Arab told him, your mother is an amma. What is an amma? Amma is a female slave of Allah. In a famous invocation taught by the Prophet Muhammad, he says, Allahumma inni abduka. O Allah, I am your slave. Ibnu abdika, the son of your slave. Ibnu amatika, the son of your female slave. So Amma is indeed a slave of Allah, but if you put a spin on it, it could mean a slave of a human as well. Bilal heard the comment about his mother being an Amma. What did he do? He did not react. He went to the Prophet and told him. When the Prophet gathered all to hear the incident, he said, Kullana Bilalu. And that was it. Imagine us rallying in Washington, D.C., million of us, and we hear two words, Kullana Bilalu, we are all Bilal. End of story. Meaning, we are all of the same nature as Bilal, or it could be construed as Bilal, if Bilal is offended, then we are all offended. Very subtle and very moderate. He did not give elaborate speeches on race and racial relations. Can you produce one speech that the Prophet gave about race and racism? When you give such speeches, you enforce to yourself and to others that race is an important factor. Rather, you think of yourself as a brother to that man. If that man has an inferiority complex or psychological issues that causes him to seek people, he can think of himself as better than they are. That is his problem. For he is not Muslim, regardless of what he declares himself to be. And just a marginal note, when I say churchianity, I mean temples and mosques and any sort of organization that hides behind faith. We are to start developing an Islamic attitude, brothers and sisters. We ought to think of ourselves as brothers to all humanity. For we are, as the Prophet taught, we are all Bilal. And what offends one offends us all. Racism is a form of phobia as well, is it not? But does the spider care if you have phobia against him? Against spiders? He goes about his business. He thinks of himself as a brother in creation, doesn't he? All creatures do. Some believe racism stems from being too aware of one's racial identity or racial features. How can one not be in America when we are identified and categorized according to race? The excuse given is so the country can keep track of the development of racial groups. What an un-Islamic nonsense. Why is it that in Arabia all traces of slavery were wiped out? Clearly it was wiped out with love and brotherhood. But in secular America, slavery still lingers with that old sting. America is so apt at keeping records and giving speeches about racial equality and other pedantic talk out of the annals of academia. One of the chief transmitters of the hadith is al-Bukhari. He was referred to as Bukhari for being from Bukhara in the Far East. He was of the yellow race. But yet he was never ever referred to, but according to his family origins, as was common in Arabia. No reference is made to his race. Today, many Saudis are Oriental looking and are called Bukharis in Sahabi al-Bukhari. Abu Bakr is described as having white complexion. In prayer, he turned pale out of fear when reciting verses that talks about the torments of hell, and his face turning red on other occasions. But he was never referred to as a white man. The Prophet described one of his wives, or made reference to her, as Al-Humayra, the little red one. But he used the term to praise her for her knowledge of the teachings of Islam. He was teasing her because her face was always red. She was sun sensitive maybe. But where am I going with all of that? The lack of racial sensitivities, despite the widespread of slavery, through the wisdom inspired to the Prophet, without lectures about slavery and racial relations, slavery was wiped out and there was a smooth integration. There was brotherhood and love, brotherhood and love in Islam, that America never really truly developed, nor has the heart to do so ever. In Arabia, inter-race marriages existed without the label of race attached to it. In America, laws were being passed that prohibits inter-race marriages. Why does this sting of slavery still lingers in America? Because America is not an ummatan wasata, and un-Islamic attitudes have strained our psyche. The minute we step out of a mosque, we grab our race identity and seek the help of Allah. Agree? Please, do not forget to contribute to the masjid or support the journal. And I wish to remind you that next Sunday is the third Ta'aleem Sunday, so please, your attendance is encouraged. And prayer classes are coming up, so please do see Brother Daryl on your way out. And if you wish to attend a specific prayer, do mark the calendars outside so that we can make the mosque available and open for you, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. I say what I have said and ask Allah for forgiveness for me and for you if I had said anything disagreeable to Allah. And may Allah help us to be ummatan wasata in all our dealings with the others, and protect us from the evils of secularism and pallianism and republicanism, from the vulpine machination of passive racist, passive fascist chiefs of authority.